Greece, where ancient ruins tell what books never could. Some were built on cliffs so steep that no road could reach, only for faith. Others are forgotten on the slopes, where silence has taken the place of prayers. So flawlessly were they built, they still stand worthy of the gods after centuries. In this documentary, we reveal Greece's remarkable ancient and historical wonders. You'll witness a Greece rarely captured, authentic, forgotten, and profoundly historical. Ancient Messene. This ancient settlement is one of the best preserved examples, founded in the 4th century BC. Today, walking through its streets means stepping into a plan created 2,400 years ago. One of Mycenae's most important structures, this sanctuary was dedicated to Asclepius. Serving as both a religious and medical center, it featured a wide colonnaded courtyard. With its triple-arched entrance and Doric-style columns, the propylon was the monumental gateway of the sanctuary. The Odeon, later also called the Ecclesiasterion, was one of Messene's multifunctional buildings. With its semicircular seating, it hosted council meetings as well as musical performances. The Stadium of Messene is among the most remarkable remains of the ancient settlement. With its semicircular seating rows, it was used for athletic competitions and cultural events. The stadium dates to the 3rd century BC, and reliable sources suggest its stone seating could hold around 7,000 to 9,000 people. Right beside it stood the Palestra, where young athletes trained in wrestling and physical exercise. Before entering the stadium, athletes went through an intense preparation there. The propylaea, serving as the entrance to the training ground, reflected ancient grandeur with its elegant Doric columns. Rising beside the stadium, the Cepheidae Mausoleum has gone down in history as the monument of eternity for a noble family. This 4-columned structure was used as a mausoleum for distinguished family members in the 1st to 3rd centuries. During the Roman period, members of this family had served in high offices, such as priesthood in Achaia and provincial governorship. The theatre of the settlement was built in the 3rd–2nd centuries BC as a Hellenistic structure. With its massive rows of seats, it was one of the best spots offering a view over the Acropolis. Messene remains one of the best planned cities of the ancient world. Holy Kipinas Monastery. The monastery built into the rock is a unique Byzantine structure dated to the 13th century. This modest stone-walled passage is the peaceful gateway to Kipinas Monastery. The monastery has chosen to integrate with nature rather than clash with it. The structure has blended with the surrounding rocks to a point where it is almost unnoticeable. The unlit worship rooms were deliberately chosen for deep meditation and solitude. The use of color in the frescoes reflects the religious understanding and aesthetic taste of the period. The accommodation areas were specifically designated for the monks' sleep, meals, and worship. For travelers seeking silence, this is a unique spiritual refuge. Knossos Palace. The palace, with its 4,000-year history, is one of the most magnificent structures on the island of Crete. The complex hosts the most vibrant frescoes of the Minoan civilization. One of the palace's most striking frescoes is known as the Prince of the Lilies. It depicts a young male figure, recognized by his crown, made of lilies. The throne room is one of the most magnificent and symbolic sections of the palace. The tall backrest behind the throne is interpreted as a symbol of leadership and sacred authority. This stone basin served a ritual purpose. It was used for purification. The griffin frescoes decorating the walls stand out as mythical guardians. The grand staircase section of Knossos displays the palace's multi-level layout with extraordinary elegance. One of the best preserved frescoes in the palace is the cup-bearer figure, noted for its vivid colors. The figure, with long hair and elegant clothing, represents a ceremonial procession. The dolphin fresco is one of the finest examples reflecting marine life. Dated to the 1600s BC, the fresco has survived to the present with its original colors. These giant clay jars were the largest storage vessels of the Minoan palace. They were used to store grain, olive oil, wine, and dried foods. The famous Ladies in Blue fresco in the palace depicts 3 elegant women. They have curly hair, decorated heads, and wear garments appropriate to Minoan fashion. This ancient palace, protected by UNESCO, is a unique site of exploration for history enthusiasts. Acrocorinth. In this area, which bears very old traces of settlement, structures from the BC period have been uncovered. This multi-layered defensive structure contains 3 main gates. The first gate is the initial line of defense at the outermost part of the fortress. In front of the first gate, there is a defensive ditch dug to slow down the enemy. The second gate narrows the passage leading inside, strengthening the defense. The third gate is the final gate that opens into the inner fortress at the summit. The square tower at the top of the fortress is known as the Frankish Tower. This structure was built during the Frankish rule between the 13th and 15th centuries. The Corinthian plain, the Gulf, and the northern passes could be easily controlled from the tower. Remains of an Ottoman-era mosque can still be seen inside the fortress today. For travelers interested in history, Acrocorinth is a must-see stop. Mystras. Built as a fortress city by the Byzantines in the mid-13th century, Mystras was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1989. Over time, houses, palaces, churches, and monasteries were established around the fortress. The Despot's Palace, together with the palace complex, is the largest and most prominent structure in the upper town. The Cathedral of Agios Demetrios was built in the late 13th century as one of Mystras's oldest sacred structures. The alternating use of rows of stone and brick in the facade arrangement clearly reflects the architectural aesthetics of the period. The Church of Saints Theodore, like Agios Demetrios, was built in the late 13th century. This church was an important center in the Byzantine period in terms of both worship and artistic expression. The Church of Hagia Sophia, located in the upper part of the city, was designed as a place of worship for the ruling class. The church was directly connected to the Despot's Palace complex and functioned as the palace chapel. The monastery of Panagia Pantanassa is the last major structure in which Byzantine architecture in Mystras is gracefully brought to completion. The Methoni Castle, built in the 13th century, is the oldest structure in the history of Mystras. Visitors who climb to the hilltop can clearly observe the broad plains where ancient Sparta is located. Delphi Archaeological Site. The earliest traces of life in the region date back approximately 8,000 to 9,000 years. UNESCO regards Delphi's settlement layout as an example of historic engineering. We would like to examine together some of the prominent structures in the area that are of historical significance. In ancient Delphi, the structure that first draws visitors' attention is, undoubtedly, the Temple of Apollo. The remains visible today belong to the last temple, built in the 4th century BC in the Doric order. In the Adyton, the Pythia, in a trance induced by Apollo, would deliver oracles. Historians such as Herodotus have described the Pythia as the most reliable and respected prophetess of the Greek world. The polygonal wall supporting the ground beneath the temple is an engineering marvel built of neatly cut limestones. Just above it lies the theatre, with a capacity to accommodate more than 5,000 spectators. From the theatre, a unique view commanding the entire valley can be seen. The Agora of Delphi, positioned at the main entrance of the road leading to the sanctuary, plays a guiding role. Nearby, the treasury of the Athenians was built as a votive offering to Apollo after the victory at Marathon against the Persians. The stadium, located in the upper part of the temple area, with a length exceeding 150 meters, had a capacity of about 6,000 spectators. The gymnasium, which lay outside the boundaries of the sanctuary, was a special area dedicated to physical training and intellectual cultivation. While searching for the center of the world, Zeus sent 2 eagles in opposite directions. When they met in the skies over Delphi, Zeus placed at this spot the Omphalos stone, symbolizing the navel of the world. There are 2 different examples of this stone at Delphi, and they are often confused with each other. The first of these is the decorated version displayed in the Delphi Archaeological Museum. The second stone, located in the temple precinct, has a much simpler appearance. With its unadorned surface, this stone is considered closer to the original cult stone. One of the most famous structures, the Tholos of Delphi, notable for its architectural form and central position, was built in the 4th century BC. It is suggested that it was used for secret religious ceremonies or special cult rituals. Although its function is not clear, its architectural elegance and symbolic power are highly impressive. Delphi is a first-class archaeological center for both its architecture and its mythological roots. Fortress of Acronafplia. This rocky castle is the oldest of all the defensive structures in Nafplio. Built on ancient foundations, the fortress bears traces from the Frankish, Venetian, and Ottoman periods. In the lower walls, traces of stonework extending back to the Bronze Age can be seen. The upper section, built by the Franks, was expanded for military purposes in the 13th century. During the Venetian period, the walls were thickened, making coastal defense more effective. The Ottomans, in the 16th century, restored the fortress and began using the name Inner Castle. In the early 19th century, the Greeks recaptured the Acronafplia fortress from the Ottomans. This conquest was recorded as one of the most important strategic gains in the Morea. From the fortress, the Argolic Gulf, Palamidi, and all the surrounding passes can be observed. Arvanitia Promenade, located beneath the fortress, is one of Nafplio's most elegant and most peaceful walking paths. The cacti clinging to the rock walls give this path a wild character. The fortress is a special spot that offers historical and natural beauties in the same frame. Temple of Poseidon. Built in the 5th century BC for Poseidon, god of the sea, this structure is one of the most magnificent examples of the Doric order. This rocky promontory was deliberately chosen to protect Athens's sea routes and to seek divine protection. Ancient sailors often visited this place to pray to Poseidon for storm-free journeys and safe returns. The marble used in the construction of the temple was obtained from the nearby Agrileza quarries. Although not as famous as Pentelic marble in academic sources, Agrileza marble was also reliably used in ancient architecture. Few places in the world offer a view as captivating at sunset as the Temple of Poseidon. Fortezza of Rethymno. The fortress was built on Paleocastro Hill, which is the site of the city's ancient Acropolis. In the late 16th century, as Ottoman attacks increased, the Venetians established a permanent defense system in Rethymno. The main church within the Fortezza was originally an Orthodox place of worship dedicated to Saint Nicholas. However, after the Ottomans captured the fortress in the 17th century, they decided to convert the church into a mosque. The present-day Ibrahim Han Mosque was built over the site of the former church. The mosque is closed to worship and is used only for exhibitions and cultural events. These cast iron cannons were used during the Venetian period to protect the fortress against naval attacks. Within the fortress, remains of the rector's residence, an armory, and a prison can also be seen in addition to the mosque. Delos. UNESCO listed Delos as a World Heritage Site in 1990 for its exceptional cultural legacy. The Terrace of the Lions is one of the most striking remains of ancient Delos. Most of the statues seen today are faithful replicas. The original sculptures were moved to the museum to protect them from environmental effects. This precaution aims to pass down thousands of years of stone craftsmanship to future generations. The exedra in Delos is a semicircular seating area in ancient Greek architecture. It was used for philosophical debates, social gatherings, or the display of monumental statues. The construction of the ancient theatre of Delos began in the late 4th century BC and was completed around 60 years later. When completed, it reached a capacity to host 5,000 to 6,000 spectators. The theatre quarter in Delos was home to the wealthiest residents of the ancient city. Let's take a closer look at some of the historical sites surrounding the theatre quarter. The House of Cleopatra belonged to one of the richest families in Delos. Its architectural plan clearly displays the social status differences present in private houses of the time. The statues at the entrance honored the homeowners with realistic facial features. These statues, erected in the 2nd century BC, clearly demonstrate the artistic mastery of the era. The Temple of Isis, built in the Doric style, features a symmetrical and simple facade. The statue of the goddess Isis was ceremoniously placed at the center of the temple in the 2nd century BC. The House of Dionysus is easily recognizable from afar with its massive marble columns and high walls. The mythical god Dionysus is depicted in the mosaic riding a powerful tiger. The Stoiba Deion in ancient Delos was a ritual and votive area built in honor of Dionysus. The temple featured 2 giant phallic columns erected in honor of Dionysus. These phalluses were symbols of fertility, reproduction, and the cycle of life in the ancient world. The houses of the lake are considered one of the most magnificent and wealthy homes in Delos. The floor plan is not symmetrical. The rooms are arranged around a central open courtyard. Mosaics decorated with geometric motifs made the house stand out aesthetically. Walking in Delos is like silently wandering through the streets of ancient times. Methoni Castle. This historic fortress is located at the southwestern tip of the Peloponnese Peninsula. The castle was built in the 13th century by the Venetians to protect maritime trade. In the early 16th century, it fell into Ottoman hands and was restructured. In the late 18th century, the Venetians recaptured it, but it was soon retaken by the Ottomans. Inside the fortress, there are a bathhouse, Musk remains, and Ottoman-era structures. The Bortzi Tower, located on a small islet, is directly connected to the fortress by a stone bridge. Bortzi is one of the last additions to the castle and likely dates to after 1500. The stone bridge leading to the main gate is notable for its multi-arched construction. Although its exact function is unclear, it is believed to have served as a passageway. This fortress is a rare example where Venetian and Ottoman architecture coexist. Katholiko Monastery. According to some sources, the origin of the structure dates back to the 11th century. The monastery is hidden within a quiet rocky cliff at the end of a secluded path. Today, it is in ruins and cannot be reached by vehicle. The path starting from the south of Gouverneto Monastery reaches the ruins of Katholiko in 20 to 30 minutes. Most of the existing remains belong to parts that were rebuilt in the 1600s. Stone arches, ancient passageways, and several rooms have endured despite the effects of time. This spot, reached through challenging trails, is a unique destination for those who love discovery. Castle of Chora. This castle was built by the Venetians in the 13th century. Its hilltop position offers a wide view over both the inland and the coastal areas. the remains of houses reveal that this was once an actively inhabited area. Among the castle structures, the Church of Panagia Myrtidiotissa is one of the best preserved parts. Another church, called Panagia Orphani, held a significant position in the castle during turbulent times. Other castle structures include a gunpowder store, an armory, and military use sections. Sanctuary of Apollo, Despotiko. Today completely uninhabited, Despotiko is located just west of Paros. Excavations at the temple site show the earliest structural layers date to the 6th century BC. However, research indicates that the early phase of the temple was built with porous stone and later reinforced with marble. In its early period, the sanctuary was one of the most revered religious centers in the Cyclades. Archaeological evidence shows the sanctuary was dedicated not only to Apollo, but also to Artemis and Hestia. Traces of settlement from the late Roman and early Byzantine periods have also been found in the area. Its silent and isolated location turns it into a special discovery spot for history enthusiasts. Theatre of Epidaurus. This 4th century BC structure is considered the finest theatre of the ancient world. The structure was completed in 2 phases: the initial construction in the 4th century BC and the stage addition in the 2nd century BC. The seating arrangement of the ancient theatre was designed to comfortably accommodate large crowds. The steps were built to block low frequencies and enhance high sounds. This theatre possesses such perfect acoustics that even the smallest sound from the stage can be heard without fading. Distinguished not only for its acoustics, but also for its history, the theatre has been under UNESCO protection since 1988. Acropolis of Athens. The first signs of settlement on the Acropolis date back approximately 8,000 years to around 6000 BC. As in ancient times, the Propylaea remains the main entrance to the Acropolis today. Designed by the architect Mnesicles, the structure features symmetrical gateways, columned halls, and marble steps. However, with the outbreak of the Peloponnesian War, the works were interrupted and the structure remained incomplete. The most iconic and magnificent structure of the Acropolis is undoubtedly the Parthenon, dedicated to Athena. Built in the 5th century BC, this majestic structure is made entirely of Pentelic marble. The perfect harmony of Doric columns made it an architectural masterpiece of the ancient world. The Erechtheian temple stands on the northern slope of the Acropolis, adapted to the uneven terrain. The caryatid statues belong directly to this temple. These statues are located on the small columned porch on the southern side of the temple. Here, 6 female figures appear to be standing to support the roof. Each one is unique with different clothing details, hairstyles and postures. Today, replicas stand in their place, while the originals are preserved in museums. This 2nd century theatre, built by Herodes Atticus for his beloved wife Regilla, endures as one of the most majestic landmarks below the Acropolis. When first constructed, it had a cedar wood roof and a 3-story arched stage facade. However, during the Herulian invasion in the 3rd century, the structure suffered severe damage and likely lost its roof. It was designed to host thousands of spectators at once. The Theatre of Dionysus was built on the southern slope of the Acropolis, within the sacred precinct of the Temple of Dionysus. Originally, its stage was a simple earthen platform, later reinforced with stone structures. The Choragic monument of Thrasilos stands on the southern slope of the Acropolis, just above the Theatre of Dionysus. This monument was built in the late 4th century BC to honor Thrasilos's victories in music and theatrical contests. For those interested in art, history and culture, the Acropolis of Athens is an unforgettable open-air museum. Agia Triada Monastery. This impressive monastery, located on the Akrotiri Peninsula, was built in the 17th century. The structure features a cruciform plan with 3 domes, reflecting both Venetian and Byzantine influences. Carefully tended plants bring both color and vitality to the monastery's surroundings. The landscaping is meticulously maintained and continuously renewed by the monastic community. Archaeological site of Mycene. Between the 16th and 11th centuries BC, the region was a center of kingdoms and wealth. The Lion Gate, constructed in the mid-13th century BC, was the main entrance to the Mycenaean Acropolis. It is believed that the heads were made of a different material, which is why they have not survived. Dated to the 16th century BC, Grave Circle A is one of the most impressive burial areas in Mycenae. Within its large circular layout, several royal tombs and many human remains have been unearthed. Grave Circle B is an older cemetery than Circle A, located outside the Mycenae walls, and hosts early royal burials. Located on the Acropolis, the treasury of Atreus is a magnificent royal tomb built in the mid-13th century BC. This monument is considered a masterpiece of tholos tombs in ancient Greece due to its size and exquisite stonework. The lion tholos lies in the northern part of the archaeological site and is named for its proximity to the Lion Gate. Its origins date to the mid-14th century BC, and it features carefully crafted stone walls. Mycenae is a unique historical destination for those planning cultural trips. Your interest in Greece's ancient and historical sites means a lot. Thank you for watching. We hope this documentary gave you a deeper understanding of the country's rich past. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow. We'd love to hear from you. Which ancient site or hidden ruin impressed you the most? At the end screen, you'll find other videos leading to different civilizations. Until we meet again in the next exploration.